And we're live. Hell yeah. All right. Let's see them fucking
What up,
take
dogs?
this one down. Let's see them take this one down. Try it.
Dude, dogs, the haters are hating on us, man.
Take my fucking stream down, dude. Make me a free speech martyr.
Yeah, you're blowing up. Now you got to push that narrative.
That's it. Dude, this is too much truth. It's too powerful. The elites do not want us getting our message out there.
I knew we should have bought AR-15 specifically for this fucking reason.
That's
because it
what
was
I was
bound to
saying.
happen eventually.
It's the only reason we started a Patreon. I was like, I need AR-15s and I need a nice hat to wear for my book tour.
Although with
yeah.
us being gay retards, I think we need gay AR-15s.
Stop, dude. Chill. Fuck, man. That would
Dude,
be
what a
sick.
treat tonight,
That would be
man.
sick to become a free speech advocate and just make money for, I don't know, you just bother people outside on video, I think. That's all.
I think that's it. I mean, I just got shadow banned on Instagram, and I was furious that now I have to talk about that.
Why'd they shadow ban you? What'd you do?
Because two trans women were having a fight in my comments like a year ago from one of my videos, and I guess like they've since circled back and reported a bunch of them, and
Oh, God.
like it's been a steady decline of interaction and views. Where it's like I used to get 100,000 views on stand-up videos, you know, even high tens of thousands or whatever, and now it's like 1,500 if I'm lucky.
Damn. What's your next move? How do you parlay this into just an enormous career? You don't even have to do jokes anymore. You just go
I
to
know.
podiums.
I gotta like somehow get it to Rogan and then have him fight my battle for me.
We'd like to officially welcome Mike Hanna to the podcast. Mike, it's a treat to have you, my man.
It's a treat to be on, man. I'm a big fan of you guys. Thank
Thanks
you
for
so
hanging
much.
with
Likewise,
us,
man. Dude, if you want, after you're done this, if you're done listening to Dad Me, check out Mike's special Life Begins. You can watch it on YouTube, and it's also available for purchase on iTunes. We watch it. We were lucky enough to do a real ass podcast with Mike back in January, and getting to meet him then, you know, I saw that he was promoting his special, and it's so fucking good, and it's just different. It's not just a comedian up there just telling jokes. It's like, one, he's super funny, and two, it's just enjoyable to watch, and it's cool to see like all the people that you got involved to that obviously love and care about you to help you promote this, and to just say funny shit.
Yeah,
during
I mean
the course of the special.
that was pretty wild. I thought, because I don't know, I'm still one of those assholes that doesn't think too highly of myself. So
Good.
to give myself an hour almost seemed like a piece of shit move. You know what I mean?
I love
Like
that
even,
feeling.
yeah, even though it was free on YouTube, I'm still like, who am I to have an hour? So I was like, I'll just put a little bit out and have these guys hopefully, you know, help get the name out and get the message out there.
But I think that's typically a telltale sign that you are good at what you do. Like if you don't think you're good,
Yeah.
then you're on the right track.
I think so too. Yeah, my least favorite comics are the guys that are like, fucking burn the place down last night, baby.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
unbelievable. Nobody came out alive.
Dude,
It's like, ugh.
to that point, like there was a guy that immediately the first person that popped in my head was this guy who was sitting backstage one time. He was like a dentist or something, and he would go up. He did his 3 minutes, and it was nothing, but to him it meant fucking everything. And lo and behold, a couple months later, he was in the news for getting to a fight with Russell Westbrook at a Sixers game.
Of course he did.
So that was impressive, although his
Yeah,
comedy
yeah.
wasn't, man.
Dude, honestly, that's a pretty damn good credit though. At this point, if you want to stand out, you got to give something like that before you
Dude,
come on.
and he's the one to go to. Do you watch a lot of basketball?
I'm a big hoops guy. Yeah, I played 2 years in junior college, and
Oh, no way.
All growing up was obsessed with it. Yeah.
Oh, dude, that's like that. That lifestyle. Like, are you watching Last Dance right now?
Yeah.
Dude, incredible. Don't mean to brag, but I got an Air Jordan fucking track jacket on Facebook Marketplace. But
Is that is that a recent purchase?
that's what dude. Like anytime a local Wigger dies, I feel it in my bones.
Did you get the matching bucket hat?
It's always just like some sad 60-year-old woman bringing out a few hangers of fucking Jordan track jackets. She sold for $20.
Here's Derek's shit.
You got to get matching affliction jeans to get the real Michael Jordan feel.
Yeah, but seeing that now, it really like it reinvigorated like my love for like 80s and early 90s NBA, but more
Yeah.
importantly, like the behind the scenes shit, like just to see like how fucking wild these dudes were. And
Yeah.
I think like Russell Westbrook, like watching him get into fights with people, like anytime he would do that, that would make me think of what happened with Ron Artest.
Right. Yeah, totally. And you almost miss that kind of grit and, mentality now because everybody's friends with everybody. Russ is, in the off season, he's cool. He'll wear floodwater pants and look sweet. But, when the game's on, he'll fucking bite your face off. And I love that about him.
How much of like what you see goes on behind the scenes in this documentary relates to what you experience playing college ball?
Well, everything besides the money, the packed crowds, and and just general nice treatment of us at all. Dude, I played fucking, JUCO basketball where our big trips were like we went to New Mexico to play New Mexico Community College and some other. And my coach was so wild. I remember he made a cotton picking joke to our entire team, and I was one of 2 white kids on it, so you can kind of assume what that was. And then some dude on my team banged a 65-year-old prostitute named Candy because we were so pumped to be out of New York. So I guess it was a lot like the Bulls.
Had a real sweet tooth.
Yeah, dude, the chick shit on the toilet too. She shit on the lip of the toilet. Yeah, when we my dude Jeff, so he was like grimy as hell, right? Looked like a human pit bull, was just from the hood, was one of those basketball players that was like completely in your shit for all of 94 feet, so you couldn't breathe. He was so athletic, he's on top of you. And then he lived his life pretty similarly, and he found this decaying prostitute on the side of the road in New Mexico, brought her back to our motel, and then fucking was like, who wants to bang this chick? Who wants to fuck her with me? And everybody was like, no, we're good, Jeff. And he took her in the bathroom and had sex with her for $1. And all of us even put our heads to see under the door, and we watched his feet and legs and her legs rock back and forth. So it was confirmed. And then once he let her out, we opened the door and there was a dollop of shit on the top.
Whoa.
Not even the toilet bowl. It was on the top of the fucking whatever. So I don't know what position he was doing or how she fired that out, but it was pretty well preserved too.
He probably gave her a level of enthusiasm she hasn't seen in, it could be decades at this point.
Yeah, man. And if she's in New Mexico, the idea that she would sleep with a black guy is also pretty wild.
Maybe she's just, accepting and dude, just think she's that old. She's still in the game. That could have been the day she was going to retire. She was probably like,
right.
I'm getting too old for this shit. And then he walks in and he puts a fucking just beating on her bones.
Dude, that's like how fighters.
She's like, maybe there is something still for me in this game.
You know how when fighters retire, they drop their gloves in the center of the center of the ring.
She just drops her uterus in the middle of a parking lot.
Dude, that's a cool move, man. It's like an old barista. You know how baristas, when you get a latte, they'll put like a leaf in foam on the top. Mm-hmm. That's the old prostitute way.
It's like the coffee salt bay.
The salt and pepper bay.
Yeah.
Man.
That's funny, man. It's crazy you mentioned her because Tim knows this, but this is going to be new to you, Mike. But I enjoy a good spunker.
Okay.
Mandy McCready, Julia Butt. The list goes on and on.
I don't know what spunker is. Is that weird?
No, it's not. You're a normal person, but it's an older lady who does porn.
Oh yeah. Okay.
Just ladies who are clearly in it for the love of the game. Yeah. I don't know what the age cutoff is. I don't know if it's playing like youth baseball or anything like that. I don't know if they have to be a certain age to meet the requirements, but typically it's ladies who look like they need help getting out of a sofa.
Oh my God.
I feel you, man. Women who are at risk of COVID.
It's funny to bring that up, dude, because I was reading about do you remember Vanessa Del Rio?
Yeah, why do I know that name?
She was pretty prominent in the 80s.
Okay.
Porn lady?
Yeah.
Oh,
Dude, she was big in the 70s and 80s. And she's a very interesting lady. She actually tore her meniscus on stage, and that was it for her.
No shit.
Yeah. But she had retired due to the HIV crisis during the 80s. Uh-huh. So with you mentioning that, that's a real danger for these ladies now. They can't just jump back in willy-nilly and just start.
That's true. Yeah, comics with asthma are going to retire. I guess that's it for me. Can't go back on the road. I'm a fucking...
How bad are you chomping at the bit, Mike?
I mean, it's like I almost can't think about it because I feel like then it's almost too much of a loss. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's so much of I'm one of these idiots that completely tied my identity to stand up. It's been who I am for the last 11, 12 years. And I'm just like, without doing it, I feel like less of myself and I have very little worth.
Damn, dude. Now, is there anything that like you're trying to like make up for that with? Or are you just fucking pacing around the house, just waiting for the fucking days to end?
I mean, I'm like, I'm staying busy in terms of doing videos and, podcasting constantly.
Yeah.
I'm not doing I haven't done any of the Zoom stand-up shows yet. I've actually, believe it or not, I've heard both horror shows and then I've heard good things about them. I don't know if my way of telling jokes lends itself to that. I think it lends itself more to podcasts. And if people listen live, then cool. But otherwise, it's like, whatever, let's just fucking do this.
Yeah.
But, I'm mostly just trying to stay productive as much as possible and try to, diversify how we're making money,
Yeah.
How about you guys?
I don't, we talk about that. Like we're big on programming. We got that from a prison YouTuber, which is basically just like setting your own schedule, setting your own goals and being like the fucking master of your fucking domain.
Yeah.
But things are going pretty well, man. Like I'm fortunate enough to be able to work from home most of the time. So I can kind of dick off in my own way, like accomplish the shit that I want to accomplish while also getting like a little bit of work done.
Sure.
I feel good, man. I feel like I'm in the swing of things. The kids are pretty much self-sufficient.
I mean, you're in a $150 track jacket. You should feel good.
Yeah, I actually feel like I've inherited the powers of this Wigger who died in it. I'm actually stunned they didn't bury him in it because this is a definite burial jacket. Although to that note, I think I got the one that he was supposed to enter heaven with because it's an old white one.
Yeah, dude, that's like that should be Space Jam 2. Is you wearing a Wigger's Jordan track jacket and soaking up his powers.
Yeah, dude, there definitely needs to be a Space Jam reboot. All Wiggers, man.
I know, but unfortunately, they're going with LeBron, who I love, but it's certainly not it's not as creative as it could have gone.
Is he your guy right now?
Yeah, I mean, I just any LeBron hater to me truly doesn't make sense because the guy, it's like I love basketball, so I'm going to gravitate to the best people that are playing basketball. And, his personality is, I guess, hateable to some people. It's not really to me. I think he was born to a 16-year-old mother in Shittsville, Ohio. He's had at least nationwide fame and attention since he was 15 and 16. His only fuck up was the decision, and he ended up donating like millions of dollars to the Boys and Girls Club. So it's like, if you fuck up like that, you're fine in my book.
Yeah, I mean, like that. I mean, just to him, like the guy can't fucking do anything without getting criticized for it. And circling back to the Lance Dance thing, it's like Jordan gambled. Like for fuck's sake, man. Like,
yeah,
what do you want the guy to do,
dude? If Jordan came up during the social media era, it would be a totally different story. He would have some Tiger Woods level shit where he would, I'm sure some girls have flipped the fuck out at Michael Jordan and people in Vegas kept it quiet. Like he was dealing in pretty high levels where he's gambling hundreds of thousands of dollars a hole for fucking golf. It's insane.
Dude, one of my favorite moments from The Last Dance was when he was playing quarters with the security guys.
Yeah.
And that one old Wigger, man.
That guy looked like unlike any human being I've ever seen in my entire life.
Like, because of that, I did research today. It turns out he was a retired narcotics officer.
What?
Yeah, man. He was a cop in Chicago.
Who the fuck is he taking down? That wiry weirdo, and he just grew his hair out after he got off the force, and he's like, all right, I'll get the mustache and this long white hair.
Man, but what a serendipitous fall for an old Wigger, man. Michael Jordan's personal security guard.
and become very cocky at a game they clearly made up. Like he was strutting around like tossing quarter. I don't even know what the fuck the point of that game was. Do you?
I don't think it does either. I think Jordan was just like, all right, here we have 10 minutes. Somebody's got a pocket full of quarters. Let's make a game up here.
Yeah, let's throw it closest to the wall without hitting it. That's at least what I got out of the game. I have no idea what it was.
I have no idea what it was either, but I know I want to play it now.
I haven't watched it. Were they just pitching quarters?
Yeah, they're just pitching quarters against the wall, and it's like, I guess it's just, I don't know.
Yeah, that's big dirtball gambling shit.
Yeah, dude, if you saw these guys, like,
I haven't watched it.
Dude, you have to watch this. It's so fucking good.
I mean to. Hey, do you think there's like a psychological thing? So you guys, like, you asked him if LeBron's his guy. LeBron's clearly the guy, like undeniable, right? But there's 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 a remarkable number of people who just shit on him. They question everything he does, right? Do you think that's like a psychological thing where like a big proportion of sports fans fail to like cultivate any kind of meaningful personal life outside of sports? So when it comes to like a guy being clearly number one, they just can't accept it because then it's just like, this is silly. If like the decision's almost made. This guy said, am I, a child? I have a favorite thing, and the best part about it is my favorite. They lose their minds. They're like, no. I've got more insight than other people. He's actually not the best. Now, if you look at, you know what I mean?
That is sports. It's that childhood shit. It's like people are so attached to their childhood and who their favorite was. Like they can't even entertain the idea that LeBron is challenging Jordan for being the best player. Listen, Michael Jordan is the best basketball player, best winner maybe ever, of anything. But LeBron James, you can't dismiss the fact that this guy is a physical freak, unlike any athlete the world has ever seen, let alone basketball player. He's got, power forward build with Magic Johnson size, with that type of passing ability. Now he can shoot a three. He can play every angle of the floor, and people are like, dude sucks. Right. Doesn't have the killer instinct. And it's like, yeah, it's because Michael Jordan is a sociopath. Like he's a bad guy. Right. But he won. He focused his bad guyness in the best direction possible. LeBron James is like if Jordan did mushrooms
and was gay.
Yeah, and was gay. And blew right? Scottie Pippen.
Wait, was LeBron's gay, right? Is that what it was?
No.
Who was the one that was they were in the locker room singing to each other? Remember the video?
Video? You know what? There, Mike. There's a video of LeBron singing to Anthony Davis.
Mm-hmm.
Giving him a happy birthday gift, and it was like
tagged onto Marilyn Monroe singing to him.
Yeah, it was sultry. So I give him that. And then that was piggybacked onto another video of Anthony Davis having a finger shoved in his ass when he played for Kentucky.
No shit.
Yeah.
Somebody taped that?
Dude, that's
Did his asshole have a unibrow?
Dude, that's so I watch so little mainstream sports that facts to me are just black conspiracy theories. And I'm just casually like, well, LeBron's gay. From that,
I know Dwight Howard is definitely a poo pusher, but I mean, I didn't realize LeBron was in that camp, but it makes sense.
Dude, I hope they make a Last Dance for Dwight Howard.
Yeah.
Because like any more of that in-depth NBA shit. Because to me, the NBA is the most fascinating league.
Mm-hmm.
There was one thing that I was reminded of when watching The Last Dance, but Anthony Mason from the Knicks, like he was just a notorious motherfucker. He was a scary dude. There was a story when in the late 90s, when the Sixers, early 2000s, when the Sixers started to get good again, Tyrone Hill, who played for the Sixers, tried to everything he could to avoid Anthony Mason in the tunnel leading up to and after the game, because apparently Tyrone Hill owed Anthony Mason money, and Anthony Mason told him he was going to get it that night.
Oh shit, dude. I mean, Anthony Mason was the first guy I ever saw with yellow whites of his eyes.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I mean? Where he's got like almost that demon look, and he has the fucking artwork in his hair. He was awesome too. He was one of the first point power forwards, because
he was incredible, dude.
He'd bring the ball up, pass. His free throw was inexplicable.
Dude, yellow eyes are like black dude fangs. Any black dude who's got them is instantly 1,000 times more terrifying, because Jordan's got them now, and Jordan is infinitely more intimidating than he ever was playing basketball.
What is that from? Is that booze that did it?
I can see
because I mean, Jordan hits the bottle now pretty hard.
Most of the dudes I see with it push brooms in like garages. That right for a living.
Well, all of my AAU coaches had it.
Okay.
Like, literally all of them growing up would have just these fucking, and they'd have like little bursted blood vessels that they claim were from their career. Yeah.
Oh man. Well, I bet you know what? That's something I feel like I should look up before taking any guesses, because it's going to be extremely racist. They have an extra
it's just
cornea.
Something that happens over time with melanin.
Oh my god,
dude! But a story that I wish they touched on about Dennis Rodman is like, they have Carmen Electra up there, and they kind of asked about the marriage a little bit. I don't know if they edited this part out, but there's this amazing story when they were married. They were at some Hollywood party, and she bust into a bedroom, and Rodman is fucking two chicks. Right? He's just banging two chicks. And she's like, oh my God, I can't believe you're cheating on me with two women. What the fuck? And he looks her dead in the eye and he goes, what women? There's two chicks on the bed naked with him, and she's like, what? And he's like, I don't know what you're talking about. You're crazy, lady. And she's like, what? And he's like, yeah, get out, man. You're fucking out of your mind. There's just two naked women next to him.
Being that mentally ill and rich at the same time.
I can't handle being mentally ill and poor.
I know.
Oh my God.
Being mentally ill and rich would be fun.
Like when you're crazy and you have the money to just shape your reality around how crazy you are.
Yep.
That's gotta be awesome.
On that note, I was watching another one last night, Quiet Storm with Ron Artest. It's on Showtime. Yeah. And like, he's another one. I
played against his brother in community college.
How was he?
He was really, really great. And it turns out he was like one of the biggest drug dealers in Sullivan County. Cause I think he got arrested pretty shortly after we played them.
Oh, damn. You know what? I think I remember hearing him mention that on the documentary.
Yeah. Michael Artest. Yeah.
Fuck, man. But he was another one. Like Ron Artest was one of those guys who, like, you could just tell that, you know, there's something different. Like when you look in somebody's eyes and like, you can just tell that like, okay, they would stab me for just looking at them the wrong way. He had that. And, you know, he ended up becoming buddies with the guy who threw the beer at him in Auburn Hills. Yeah. Yeah. He reached out to him. He just called him one day.
Wow.
And the guy,
that's crazy. I never knew that.
The guy actually had a pretty funny story because the guy who threw the beer at Ron Artest, he ended up going to AA. And then he got his life straightened out and he stopped throwing beers at basketball players that incited riots. And then while Artest was doing a lot of soul searching, he's like, all right, let me call this guy up. And he called him up and I think they had lunch together and now they're buddies.
Dude, imagine if the Malice at the Palace was your rock bottom. Like, that is the fucking greatest reason to stop drinking of all time. I stopped drinking because my wife was pregnant. My rock bottom sucked. This guy caused a league-shaping melee. Oh, fuck.
Oh, my God.
I mean, it's not entirely his fault. I mean, the Palace did have a name that rhymed with Malice, so.
Yeah. They had to expect it at some point.
Yeah. I mean, that was the fucking best.
Didn't he hit the wrong guy?
He hit everybody. Yeah. Didn't he just jump into the crowd?
Yeah. It was the guy that was next to John Green was the name of the guy who threw the beer. And he told the guy next to him, he's like, I bet you I could hit Artest from here. And he launched a beer and he got it on him. And Artest just looked up and he saw the dude next to John Green laughing about it. So he went up, and the picture that was the front page news of the incident was the guy with his hands up, fucking eyes wide. They're like, no, it was him. And John Green just let it happen. But then he tried, as he was trying to act like he was taking Artest off the guy, he was sucker punching him.
No shit, yeah. I mean, Steven Jackson also climbed directly in the stands and started lacing motherfuckers up. You gotta appreciate that a little bit.
Dude, Mike, I think that should happen the last game of every year. For any team that doesn't make the playoffs, that's what you should get to do.
Yeah. Oh my God, that would
as soon as somebody throws something, just have at it, man.
Dude, also, like, you know, who knows what these guys are saying to Westbrook, you know, and starting fights now. But I was sitting like, I think my wife's family has insane season tickets to the Knicks that are obviously not very impressive anymore, but they've had them for years and years. And I think they're like 5 rows behind the hoop. And I said something to Zach Randolph this years ago while he was playing. And I was like, you bum, you stunk on the Knicks. Literally something as innocuous as that. And some fucking usher walked up to me and like stuck out his hand with a piece of paper and like no look handed me a piece of paper. And I read it and it was like, this is your only warning. If you say one more thing, you're out. And it's like, dude, I know I didn't pay any money for these seats, but if I did, this would be like, you're giving me a fucking 1 strike penalty and I didn't even say anything.
You got demerits at the Knicks game. Get your dad to sign this before you come back to your seat.
Dude, people used to throw shit, say crazy stuff, you know, research personal shit about each player and say it like, you know, and now I say you stunk on the Knicks and I'm getting a fucking a stupid warning.
Fuck yeah.
I wish somebody would compile an Excel spreadsheet of fucking dudes who are that weak, thin-skinned, and then the flip side of dudes who can fucking take it.
Yeah.
There was a guy, do you remember a baseball pitcher? He was with the Phillies for a long time, then he ended up going to the Dodgers, Vicente Padilla.
Yeah.
Padilla. Well, he was warming up in the bullpen when the Phillies last played them in Game 6 of the 2009 NLCS, I think it was. And I was just screaming at him the entire time and just saying the most offensive shit I could think of. And when he was done, he tossed the ball up to me. And like that's how you handle that. That's how you handle that.
Now
But
you're
on
a
the flip
fan
side,
for life.
yeah. Then on the flip side, there's guys that as soon as you say something, I'm still hurt by this. One of the I think it was one of the Nationals bullpen coaches said, "What did you say, fat boy?" And at the time, I was very heavy, and I had to leave at that point. So I got a verbal demerit.
Dude, when I was playing in junior college, we went and played Allegheny in Maryland, which was Steve Francis's junior college. And it's more or less like a farm team for Maryland University. So it's all these kids that are unbelievable, but they're full-blown retards. They can't get into a state school, even with their abilities, right? So they're just dumb as rocks at community college, but they beat us by 50 my freshman year, and then by 65 my sophomore year. And they always had their baseball team. They would wear different color shirts, and there would be like, 20, 25 kids in their crowd, which was always jam packed. And they would just be screaming heckles at everybody. There was an Italian kid that kind of looked like you, Mike, slick back hair. And he was like, he used to be fat, but he was real buff. And like one guy goes, yo, 13, tuck your titties in. And it like shattered him for a week. It was, I mean, they called another kid Enrique Iglesias, and he was like dark skinned, didn't get it, but super upset. It really bummed him out. And they called me Mike Bibby, which I actually appreciated.
That's a good one.
Yeah, I was like, yeah, Mike Bibby is fucking good.
How many places that you would play at were terrifying to play at? Like that place just sounds like it's fun.
That place was fun. The one place that was genuinely terrifying was Sullivan County in New York City or New York State. So this is true. I was one of two white kids on my team, and then my coach was white, and everybody else was black. I had a crazy identity crisis. I was also trying to be black for a full year, like the whole thing, and the entire crowd, which was for, there's nothing to do in Sullivan. So there was 500 fucking people at this game, and the whole field house, everybody was black. Their whole other team was black. So I promise this as a point. I'm not just locating races in this arena. But every time I was the one white kid that would play, every single time I touched the ball, the entire crowd would go, cracker, literally every fucking time, right? And this is before comedy, so it's before I had my little heart broken, so I had a ton of confidence. And I remember drilling my first three, like just top of the key, catch and shoot, drilled it, and I kind of like looked up into the whole crowd, faced them, and grabbed my nuts. Like right after they were saying cracker, and right after I drilled this three, it's dead quiet for what seemed like forever. And out of nowhere, some dude goes, "Probably the first shot you ever hit, faggot." And the whole place erupted. It was the biggest kill I've ever witnessed in my life. And I was just like, I think those were like the only points I scored all game.
Oh man, you should have. For going back there, you should have pushed out the narrative that you were one of those autistic kids that is the team ball boy that he finally gets in, just to try to make him feel bad about what they said.
I was going to say, you should have dressed like a nerd, but then also danced good. They love that kind of shit.
Oh yeah,
you would have been the coolest dude there. They would have like carried you around on their shoulders.
Well, my team kind of did. Because I used to like wear Pele jeans with the patches. I had XXX long white tees with white on white Air Force Ones. I had a lineup. Girls literally thought I was Puerto Rican when I would go out with my teammates because I could dance. And then as soon as they felt my pitiful hard dick bounce against their buxom ass, they were like, "All right, this is a different thing."
It's like when you try to put the wrong batteries in something. You're like, I thought it was double A. All right. Push it aside. I don't need it anyway.
Mike, at what point did you decide that like you weren't going to go any further with basketball?
Well, it's funny that you said that porn star ended her career to a meniscus tear, because that's how I ended my basketball career.
Same stage.
Yeah, goldfish in my sneakers too.
Just guarding Vanessa Del Rio.
But I tore my meniscus my freshman year, and then continued to play on it for 18 months because I didn't want to lose my starting position. And I was a captain, and I just was like, I did steroids. Like I was just a fucking idiot. And once I was gonna play at Geneseo State University, which is up near Rochester, but that was like, it was D3. The coach was a dickhead. He like kind of disrespected me at our recruiting trip, which was weird since he invited me up there. But he was like, it's like you haven't really played against anybody, but once you get up here, you'll get acclimated. And I'm like, dude, I play against guys that go to like Gonzaga, St. John's, and all these other schools. It's like you guys play in the fucking SUNY conference in Division III. Like, trust me, you stink.
Would you travel around New York to play in street games?
Oh yeah. I played in the cages a lot when I like West 4th Street when I was in high school. I played in Yonkers, which was at this gym called School Street, which is like, it's super famous because it's like right there in the middle of Rough Riders Hood. I actually played against Jadakiss, which was hysterical because he's like, at the time, I don't know what his body's like now, but he was a rotund short fella that literally would like pass, then look away and do his fucking like his stupid his Jadakiss growl, and it was so surreal. But I don't think I ever played at the Rucker, but I watched some games there. But I played at all the other, like, you know, Van Cortlandt Park in the Bronx and all over the place.
Now, was that stuff? Were those kind of games like formative for you, or is that just more of like I want to get this experience?
Oh, that was formative. Like, I mean, the reason I do comedy is because of those games. Because my favorite, I was a flashy asshole. If I played. Like, you know, my favorite player is Jason Williams, right? White chocolate, point guard, so fucking good. Had a crazy yo-yo handle, was a great passer, could shoot, all that stuff. I had a really good handle. I could pass really well, and I was a fair shooter. I was okay, but all of my thing, like my whole game, was trying to embarrass people. So it wasn't the most efficient, but it looked fucking dope. Yeah. And so anytime if you go to an all black park and you bop the shit out of some dude and you hear the God. Dude, it's like it's almost better than comedy.
Dude, I got chills just hearing you say that because I could instantly imagine what that is like.
Yeah, and not to mention, you know, at the time, I'm not anymore. I'm a giant pussy that has a child now. But at the time, I was relatively tough, so people would constantly try to fight me also because I was the one white kid, and I would just, you know, I'd be all about that, and it would make for a lot of like really, you know, funny, crazy shit that the crowd would be like, oh, this kid's fucking ready to scrap. He doesn't give a shit.
As your encore, as your second applause.
Just square up with somebody.
Would you go to these games by yourself, Mike, or would you go with friends who are familiar with the...
I think I played at the cages once by myself, but that wasn't even in like, you know, they have those summer league things that I have also played in. But the one time that I went by myself, I just happened to be in the city and people were playing and I was in like sweats and, you know, maybe runners or something like that. But mostly it was with one of my teammates who I grew up with next door. He was an incredible basketball player. He ended up playing Division II at Franklin Pierce, I believe. But he, you know, he had a couple 40-point games in high school, like could shoot the fucking lights out. And him and I were really great together because I was the point guard and he was my wing.
Damn, dude, I give you a lot of credit, man. There's a, what was I about to say?
Did you play?
I did not. Well, I played 5th grade. I was the only kid on the team who did not score all year. To my credit, I had an alcoholic coach who probably didn't recognize what he had sitting on the bench, but that's for another time. 6th grade, I tried for like I played for like a little bit. Then I was just like, I'm going to quit. And then I made my mom sign me up for the local rec league. And first game, 4 points, retired after that.
Nice. Hell yeah.
So that was that. But I loved basketball from an early age because my aunt loved the Sixers and she loved Dr. J. And I got to go to a lot of games with her. And, you know, at that time period, you know, I didn't know that that's not typically like how great basketball was. It just happened to be the time period that I got introduced to it. But it was just mid 80s. The fucking Sixers were the shit. The Celtics were great. The Lakers were incredible. So it had all this great basketball. I just love the culture.
Philly is one of the best. I mean, it's sports overall, but like basketball, especially from, you know, for my formative years probably were mostly when Iverson started playing and like even came through. Like that was my peak basketball fandom. And I remember just watching the people show out for him and the support that he was getting. And like the fact that he was, you know, listed at 6 foot, but very clearly 5'10" tops and 5'9" probably, you know, and Philly like super embraced that. And they loved how he played every single game like it was his last. He'd break his nose on the floor diving for it. Like, I mean, I love Allen Iverson. He's great.
Dude, he was the best. I got to work at the gym where they practiced. And I went there just for that reason, to try to get a job as a locker room guy, because I just wanted to be around. I just wanted to be a fanboy.
Yeah.
And when I was interviewing, it just happened to be at a time when the Sixers were getting done practice. And the guy was showing me where all the towels were kept, how many you're supposed to give out to each person. And Iverson had just walked past. And as he walked past, I said, "Good game, AI." And I put up my hand for the black handshake, and he shook it. And I'll never forget how much he looked like he fucking hated me for no apparent reason. Just like, okay, I guess this is how it is. And then the best part came when this was a gym where it was, and the general public could go there, but it was predominantly wealthy white people from the area. So it was always fun to see them just have to sit there and take it when these even 10 times wealthier black men would just stand there naked, just fucking cursing as loud as they wanted to.
Yeah.
These old white dudes had to take it.
Just banging their pendulum cocks between their knees, and these fucking old impotent whites have to watch that bullshit. Also, I love that the 76ers are like the only team that could employ a point guard that literally couldn't hit an elbow jump shot, which is Eric Snow. He was one of the most frustrating point guards to watch because he was so good at every other aspect of the game. And then you give him like 15 feet wide open for a jumper and he's missing.
He couldn't do, and you know what, man? Even worse, when the Sixers played in the finals in 2001, he played with a broken foot.
Mm-hmm.
So there was so much going against the Sixers at that time, and I think it was a small miracle that they won one game out of that series against Kobe and Shaq. But yeah, you're 100% right on the money with Eric Snow, because everybody could just back off and just let him shoot.
Yeah, I mean, he was good. I would have loved him on the Knicks, but it was just so funny that like now you don't see that. You don't see guys that have just a complete lack of a basic skill.
Who was somebody that you played with or were aware of at the time when you were playing that ended up going to the highest level?
I played against J.R. Smith in high school because I went to Eastern Invitational basketball camp, and I was on the lowest rung of the invitees. Mike Nardi was there, who played point guard for Villanova. I always forget this guy's fucking name, but he was number 44 and he was a point guard on Virginia, and he was so goddamn silky smooth. I've never seen a point guard like him even to this day. Like, he literally would almost, like, without any hiccup or effort, would just weave through people, and it almost looked like reptilian. It was insane. But J.R. Smith, I guarded him the first day of camp, and he had just come off of ABCD, which is the biggest basketball camp in the country. He won MVP. It was very clear he was either going to UNC or the pros. He was wearing his ABCD shorts down to his ankles. He had his, Adidas sneakers on. He didn't give a fuck. He was high, I'm assuming. And when I was guarding him, he literally caught the ball, took one step inside half court, pulled a three, and then subbed himself out. He drilled a three from like 40 and then subbed himself out. I was
That's
like,
a baller move, man.
Yeah.
Was the Virginia guy Ace Custis?
No, I forget what his name was. I'm always looking this fucking guy up too. Hold on, 44. But he it's not Shuttlesworth, obviously, but it's something similar to that.
And on a Mike Nardi note, a close friend of ours actually got cucked by Mike Nardi.
No kidding.
And we had started to formulate a plan for our friend to fuck Mike Nardi's mom, assuming that she looked like a typical Italian woman, but it turns out she's pretty hot.
Oh, no kidding. Yeah, I bet she is.
Yeah, smoking hot. Probably getting all the brajol she can handle.
Mike Nardi was nice. I forgot. Yeah, Villanova is in Philly, which I've been arrested at Villanova. But Sean Singletary, that's who the point guard was.
Okay.
Yeah, and watching that guy play was like, it was insane. But Mike Nardi was another one of those dudes who was incredible.
Would a lot of the guys that you played with in junior college have delusions of grandeur, or do most of them know that this was probably it for them?
I mean, a lot of them played at 4-year schools, and I think they were mostly kind of, they wanted to be there for academics, because a lot of the kids were like, I was the only me and one other teammate from my high school, actually, we were the two in-county players. Like, everybody else at our Rockland County Community College was from the Bronx, Yonkers, all over the city, Brooklyn, all over the city. So these guys were just like literally grateful to be out of the fucking hood, to have a safe place to be and all that. I mean, I had a lot of my teammates spend the night at my house and like eat dinner with my family and stuff like that, and all of them were just like, that gave me a better perspective on what I had, because I was like, oh, everybody, like, I think this is bullshit, and everybody that's coming in is like, yo, you're living like this? Like, this is fucking insane.
Yeah. At what point, like after basketball, did you realize you wanted to get into comedy?
Pretty quickly. I mean, I even when I was doing basketball, I wanted to do stand up because I was so bereft of a father figure that the head of the communications department told me I reminded him of Jon Stewart, and I was like, "Okay, Daddy," and I just did that. I just followed his advice as a career for the rest of my life. But he gave me like Daily Show tapes. Like I did all these like characters on the TV production courses, and all these tapes that thank God were not digitized because they're fucking long gone at this point. But I kind of had the idea that I wanted to do it. And then I did my first bit of stand up while I was at Geneseo in Rochester. So that, it all kind of like slowly materialized. When did you guys start?
Fuck, man. I got into it winter of 2003. We had just found out my wife was pregnant with our first baby. And then it was just a fucking slow fucking decline from there, because I never like for me it was about going out and fucking getting hammered.
Yeah.
And it was just wherever I could do that, I was happy to do it. And then it wasn't until Tim and I, we were fortunate, a couple friends of ours, they had got a pilot through Comedy Central. And
Delco proper, right?
Yeah, that was like the first time where I felt like a legitimate person. Where I felt like I was like, oh, I might actually be funny, and I'm not just fucking deluding myself.
You were on the show or wrote it? Yeah.
Yeah. Nice. Well, Tim was there from the onset when it was a web series. And then, I came on at the second webisode. And then at that point, like, it was John McKeever and Tommy Pope, and they involved us in like every step of the process. And, whatever we thought was funny, they were always open to ideas. So it was cool. And it was like, just being in that kind of environment, it legitimized a lot of fucking nights where you just feel like, what the fuck am I doing with myself? I'm going out to the middle of nowhere, not making any money, just fucking fighting for attention. And to just finally have it validated. I use the analogy all the time, but through Field of Dreams, like Archibald Moonlight Graham, like he finally gets that one at bat. And it's like, that's the way I felt like being on that show.
Hell yeah. Did you guys, have either of you ever considered leaving Philly?
I don't know that I would now. I wouldn't.
Well, you don't have to now.
Yeah. I mean,
now you're good.
You're not allowed.
Like, I don't think I would to pursue comedy, but like, I would definitely like to get out of here and move out to the West. Because I like the West Coast a lot better.
I never considered moving, but without moving out of Philadelphia, you almost never get that validation. You never get that feeling of validation where like, I am doing comedy.
Right.
You never actually feel like you're doing comedy. You feel like you're at comedy lessons, and then like if you move to somewhere where you can do it for real, you're like, that's when I'll be in. I know that's probably unique. I don't know if anyone else feels that way, and I'm not shitting on my friends in Philadelphia who are comics. I'm just saying that they're doing that in the absence of the feedback that tells you that you are for real a comedian.
Yeah, right. We had a gift wrap for us. I mean, there's no way there's no way to sugarcoat that. I mean, Tim's the fucking funniest guy on earth, but being in Philly,
it's like
I'm gonna make his little cheeks red. But being in Philly, it's just like, how far can you really go with you're doing the same fucking 10 places over and over and over again, and who's seeing you, and what are you being subjected to? Are you growing? You're not growing. You're just you're staying the same. Whereas people that have the audacity and the balls to actually move to a place like New York or Los Angeles, then you might see something actually start to materialize from it.
Right. But I mean, now it's a little bit different. Like, if you want to be like in, this is a stupid way to put it, but like showbiz proper, you know what I mean? Like if you want to do auditions, if you want to try to get in TV, if you want to do movies, then I guess New York, mostly LA is probably, you'd have to move there. But you guys are doing big things from Philly. Like the podcast is getting out there. People are hearing about you. That has legitimized you as a stand-up. You're coming into New York, you're doing podcasts. So you're like intermixing the scenes quite a bit. So has that helped like feel like it's like, oh, all right, yeah, I'm a professional comedian and I live in Philadelphia.
Like this is in the time that Tim and I have been doing this podcast and anything related to it. It's the first, I shouldn't say first time, but like this has been the most enjoyable time that I've had doing anything related to comedy. Just because, we're doing what we want to do. And every week we have on people that we want to have on, people that we find interesting, people that we find funny. Whereas before it was just like begging for somebody to put us on a show that there might be people there and we might make fucking $25 at. Right. Whereas now it's just like, all right, we're doing our own thing. And it's just, And we've gotten lucky in anything we've done. I feel like we've had people that we look up to helping us. Like with Delco Proper, we had John and Tommy. With starting this podcast, we had Shane Gillis and Matt McCusker have us on their show to, and encouraging us, saying like telling people to check out our podcast.
Nice.
And it was really like the kind of like boost we needed to kind of hit the ground running.
It's
that's awesome.
I'm gonna turn this. This is gonna be about your special again, Mike, in a minute. But
okay. Honestly, I'm having fun talking about you guys.
Yeah, when we were almost on TV, or like all that whole saga, and I'm tired of fucking even hearing myself talk about it. But like for a long time, it felt like I was on this crazy extended job interview for a dream job. Like at the end of this, you get to be on TV and it pays your bills, and I just didn't want to worry about like balancing like work and creating things. And then since then, it's like I've had opportunities where it was like Mike said, like, please hire me, please hire us, please, I can make the thing. And I had like a kind of like a mini breakdown last weekend. Not a mini breakdown. Actually, it was great. I did mushrooms again on Sunday night.
Fuck it, breakthrough.
Yeah, exactly. This was a good thing. I did mushrooms again Sunday night, and I watched Midnight Gospel. Have you guys watched Midnight Gospel yet?
No, I heard it's amazing. That's Duncan's
with the guy that made Adventure Time. I watched the second episode of it, and I loved it. I watched this episode. I cried. I felt incredible to watch. But then also like I saw some reviews and interviews where people were like, it's stoner weirdness, and it's like, man, no, because even like I went back and watched it sober. Obviously, there's there's a purpose to everything. That it's such a clear representation of like the personalities of the people that made it. That when people were like, "Get buckle in, stoners," I was like, "Oh no, dude!" I feel these people like had a genuine expression of themselves, and people kind of mistook it. But
that's a reflection on those fucking idiots. That's like a shallow, dismissive way because they don't want to look deep within themselves.
Absolutely, I came to the same exact realization, and thankfully it was kind of quickly because I got right back to just thinking about how like those obviously Netflix broadcast it, so it's like the biggest possible buyer found it, but totally. Like I've been stuck all week on just like how do I make the things that I make more expressions of myself, and it's just been fun to think about. And then when I remember that you were on the show this week, you self-produced your special.
Yeah
it
was just a stupid idea I had in a fucking group chat.
Yeah. And when we met, I felt it felt really cool just talking to you about it. And I mean, it is unique, and it is like specific to you.
Right.
That fucking rules.
One of the things that's so good about your special, Mike, and for listeners, it's Life Begins. You can check it out on YouTube now. It's so good. Like one of the things that's so good about it is it has a definitive feel. It's not just like something you put on Netflix and it's just like somebody talking and telling jokes. It's captivating from the start. Like the way it begins is so unique, and it feels like you're in New York. And with you not only being a part of the cellar, but integrating all these people that are such prominent aspects of the cellar and the footage of it, and it makes you feel like you're there. And And one of the things that's also like really refreshing about it is you're somebody who's just really fucking good at stand up. And you're not just somebody who's just trying to parlay like being seen for an hour into something else. You're somebody who is clearly really fucking good at this shit and is only going to get better.
I appreciate it. Yeah, I mean, all I was trying to parlay it into is like somebody actually buying my next one. It's like people do stand. People do stand up to try to like act or do whatever the fuck they're gonna do, and I'm doing stand up to do more stand up, and a lot of comedy right now. To me, or not a lot of it, but a lot of the popular mainstream comedy is very cool. I call it sneaker comedy. Like everybody's dressed awesome. It's it's kind of the same note. They're hitting the same woke points or whatever it's going to be, and or it's ironic weirdness that they're talking about. And you're like, I truly can't identify with that at all. It just has no bearing on my life. So I wanted to make sure that I made something that looked serious, that was not serious for 1 second.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
Like it's so beautiful. The guy Homeless Pimp that directed it, Mike Lavin, who's now on the road, was on the road with Nate Bargatze, and he's like, doing all of his road vlogs, and he's unbelievable at his job. But as soon as I told him what I wanted to do with that, he was like, I know exactly what this looks like.
You guys fucking nailed it, because just the intro alone, like I get diarrhea watching the intro because it feels like you're going to a show.
Right.
You get that pre-show diarrhea just watching it. It's just like, oh, I know what's about to happen. Oh my God.
Well, people are so fucking stupid. They're like, wow, he totally ripped that Subway thing from Louis. And it's like, yeah, that's the point. That is dude, literally the joke I'm making.
They are not they're not able to even look that deeply, because it says more about them. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
they're
dude.
They're not going to consider that.
No, it did make me feel good though that Joe List I think he showed Louis that opening part where, Brendan Zagalo, the person who inexplicably wore a fucking cutoff T-shirt to film the intro to my special, he says, he's like, I feel like this has been done before, which again is an acknowledgement of what I'm doing. I'm using the Cellar as a character. I'm using my story at the Cellar as the, skeleton of what my special is going to be, because it's weird. Colin Quinn had a heart attack. I got in at the Cellar. It's a fucking weird original story. But Brendan, we wanted to acknowledge the fact that this has been done. People have shot at the Cellar. A lot of people have shot at the Cellar. And he's like, Crashing did it. Louis did it. And it's just like, yeah, but this is different. And he's like, how? And I'm like, exactly. It's not different. It's the same, but it's me. That's what it is.
Yeah. Oh man, that just gave me chills, the "it's me" part. Because I got hung up on all that. You were talking about all that sameness, and it so much of like the stuff I consume. Like I can't even watch most TV, and it's a lot of it is just like I feel like people who are creating things they're just looking at. I mean, and I sound like a fucking 16-year-old girl. Like they're watching what's becoming successful, and they get enthusiastic about replicating like a formula that they see. Totally. It's not that I'm saying like, dude, everyone's a sellout. It's like, no,
that's also how it is throughout time. It just looks different now. Like now it's so fucking glossy and colorful.
Like, people are getting excited about replicating formulas, and people are showing like enthusiastic like appreciation for it. And it's like, yeah. And it's like the people that should be cool. It should be the people that are like, this is shit. This is just like everything else. Everyone is like, I don't know. There's like a weird like a turn happening, and they're all just so into the fucking sameness. I can't enjoy so much is being made, and just the actually. Do you do mushrooms?
Yes,
After you
yes,
saying
I do.
That? Oh, okay.
Yeah, I do. Yeah,
Whoa.
so I totally understand what you're saying. Mushrooms are my favorite. They've changed my entire life, and I also think what you just said is true when it comes to like social media comedy, where it's like a lot of the people that become super famous on like even a new thing like TikTok or like or even Instagram or YouTube, they're almost just regurgitating past tropes of comedy, but it's for a new audience that thinks they're geniuses, that thinks and even if they didn't come up with it, they're like, who cares? They said it, I heard it, that's all I give a fuck about. I mean, that one kid was literally parroting Patrice. Like he was saying Patrice quotes on YouTube, and he got like 500,000 subscribers or something like that, to the point where, I think Norton and a bunch of those guys kind of stepped in and shined a light on it. And then he was like, oh no, it was just an homage to the great Patrice O'Neal. And it's like, well, you never quoted him. You never said anything that you were doing it. You were just giving his theories as if they were your own, but then you'd get people to fight back that are like, I don't care. I heard it from him. Or even Mencia. They're like, it might be somebody else's joke, but he performed it better. And it's like, God, that's such a bummer that human beings like that exist, where it's like all as comics, all of us, the three of us especially, it's like we're talking about it. You want to create something that is so uniquely you, that is, Duncan's show is, could anybody else do that? The way Duncan talks and he's so funny but introspective, and he understands how to also like make hallucinations and psychedelics applicable. So he talks to people who haven't done mushrooms, and they're like, oh, okay, like I understand what you're saying. You're bringing the psychedelic verbiage onto everybody's level, where it's now like, all right, it's consumable by everybody. Like he's the only motherfucker that could do that. And that's why for this, I grew up with Tough Crowd. I grew up with Opie and Anthony. I grew up reading Jim Norton's books, all that stuff. I was obsessed with the Comedy Cellar. It's what got me into comedy. The fact that I got in such a bizarre way was just like icing on the cake, that I was like, if I can get these guys that are my heroes, literally my fucking heroes, on my special, then I've accomplished something just for myself. If it does well, great. If it doesn't, like, that sucks, but I still got them to be in my thing.
Mm-hmm.
Do
you ever get to the point, does it ever creep into your mind to like feel corny for feeling that way and expressing it?
Yeah, just saying that, I wanted to take my own life.
Oh, that's so funny, because I was just like, give me more. I love this.
Dude, being sincere is like, it's the most vulnerable you could possibly be. And especially with the animals that listen to our podcast or listen to the podcast that we guest on, it's we're basically providing them with fodder to destroy us.
Yeah.
The great thing is, though, I mean, in sincerity and earnestness, you really, when you can put that out there and people can see through the bullshit, that you're not ironically saying that shit, you're going to attract people to you that are fucking like, yeah, I feel the same way too. Although they're going to probably preface it by saying, this is pretty gay. And the more that you fucking portray that, and it's like something that, like, Tim and I have been lucky to have with people reach out to us and say like, hey, like, I appreciate you saying this, or this, I'm going through this too. I think the more, that's what's going to win out in the end, because people can replicate all these little formulas that they find in all these other facets of social media or any form of entertainment. But I think what's ultimately, I don't know if it'll win out, but I mean, it'll win out for individual people trying to create unique shit, is that earnestness.
Yeah. And, at this point, and I'm sure you guys are similar with kids, like, now, it means something to me to make money. That's what it means to. Fame doesn't really mean much to me. I would like affirmation and I would like people to think that I'm good, but fame means nothing. Taking care of my family means everything. And now the person that I want to impress the most is my kid. Like, I want my kid, when he grows up, to watch my special and be like, fuck, man, my dad did this himself. Like, that's pretty crazy. I feel like if I had something like that to look back on that my father made, I would be really impressed by it. Or at least like cool, he really fucking put himself out there. That's ballsy.
Yeah,
it is, man. Go ahead, Tim.
No, I was gonna say, like, most kids, when they look at the work that their parents do, or like the example that their parents set, a lot of best case scenarios are just like, look how nice my dad's retirement party was. It's like,
right.
I've been not struggling with that lately. I've been very energized lately to tell my kids, like, look, if like you work really hard and you get what you want, there's like more you can do to get more. Like, you don't have to just set this idea of what success means. You can you're creative enough, you're smart enough. And I think this is a problem that I had, and I wonder if you guys had this. Were you guys ever told as a kid that you were very smart, or like you were very like gifted?
Yeah.
No, total retard.
Oh, okay.
Like, no, I've been told I was slow.
Well, whether or not you were told that as a kid, and if you were told that, I feel like that's like half a message. I was told that constantly as a kid, like in middle school, grade school, elementary school, and it's an incomplete message, and it fucks you up if you only get that half, because the other half of it is that doesn't mean you're on easy mode. That means that you have more potential, or even if they're just juicing you up to think you have more potential. But when you perceive that extra potential, you have to fill that with effort, or it's meaningless. You're almost worse off, because if you are actually, highly intelligent, you're just constantly aware of how much of a fucking loser you feel like at all times, and you don't have the instruction to, like, yeah, dude, fucking blow up the balloon. Go see how wide you can expand it. And that's what I'm like. The kids hate hearing about it. They hate when I talk about it, but I'm not going to shut the fuck up on it.
No, that's it. That's an important point to drive home, because my parents, I think, almost, told me I was talented to, like you're saying, to a fault, because nobody, the work ethic conversation was not there, or it was shallow as shit, where it's like, still got to work hard. And I'm like, yeah, I'm talented. Like, who gives a shit? The things will happen to me because I believe I deserve it, you know? Right. And that's how I was with basketball. Like, I worked hard, but I don't think I learned hard work until comedy. Like, until I was completely left to my own devices, and my career is 100% based on my efforts.
Like, you talking about that feeling that good things will happen to me just because I deserve it. Like, I distinctly remember that being the basis of me coasting throughout my late teens and early 20s, because I just assumed, because, you know, I would hang out in these corner bars, and every guy that I admired that would come in to drink just ended up at some blue collar job where he made enough to just buy as much beer as he wanted to and would go home in a nice truck. And I just assumed that naturally that would happen to me. And it wasn't until, I guess, like my late 20s where I realized, like, oh shit, like this probably isn't going to happen. And I might just be destined to be a fucking loser.
Right.
Because it never occurred, like that work ethic talk that you said never came. Like that didn't come either. And, you know, I feel like the basis of a lot of what I do now just comes in the form of originating from feeling like a loser for so long and just trying to do the exact opposite of what all that entailed.
You're like in a long-term Costanza. You're just like, all right, I know what that guy does, so I'm gonna do the exact opposite.
Yeah, I mean that's pretty much it. It's you know, by and large, like now is the time where like I don't feel comfortable, you know, with where I'm at, but I think that's a good thing. It's because 10 years ago, it's like, all right, cool. Yeah. Things will work out, I guess. Whereas like now it just feels like, okay, shit's not going to work out unless I fucking do something about it.
Totally.
And, you know, getting past that cruise control mentality is like the first step to realizing like, oh shit, like I can do what I want. Like Tim, when you were talking about how your kids like are probably getting like tired of that shit, like I, you know, I could imagine, like eventually there's going to come a time in the next few years where like that message isn't going to be as eye rolling to them. You know, at some point it's going to occur to them like, fuck, like I'm doing something because my dad busted my balls about this shit.
Yeah,
totally.
Yeah, eventually it's just going to be like latent instruction in their brain. I'm just trying to embed it. I don't care if they like it or not. I'm just going to get it stuck in their fucking brains, and they're just like, well, that's like, you know, the same lessons that we took from just hearing shit over and over again. If it's, I don't know. It's on me, I think.
That's the thing, is because it's almost like grieving, where you go through several steps to the process, where initially you don't get it, then you fight it, then you start to try to understand it, you really get it, you can't do it, and so you're frustrated, you might quit, and then you realize what it actually means, and you fight through the hard and the shit, and you eventually, you know, hopefully make it to a place where you're at least self-satisfied, or not even I think satisfied is probably the wrong word, but you feel good about yourself, you feel good and you know,
fulfilled,
like what you're fulfilled. Exactly. Yeah, because I'm at that point where, you know, you probably caught me on a good motivational day, because there are days where I feel like shit. I hate everything that I've done. I don't hate my special at all, but like I'm upset that it didn't get the numbers that I wanted, or, you know, no company, you know, the head of Comedy Central, who now got fired. But I saw her at a bar, and she was like, almost like, oh, that's cute, you're putting out a special, you know, and I've had a years long relationship with her, and it almost felt like, sweet of you to do. And, you know, so that like all this stuff is constantly churning in my head. And I think you know, when the clouds part, I have my best moments and my most clarity, where I'm like, all right, I'm still on the right track. I understand what I'm doing, but all of that interference still kind of cuts in. So that's why like the work ethic and all that stuff and focus, it's everything when you reach like kind of the point where you're making a living and doing it as an actual job, and it's not just a fucking dream.
I've gotten so aware of those dark moments. Like I'm at the point where now I can recognize when I'm like, dude, this is all bullshit. All this interference is this is other people's projections. This isn't, I don't think this. I'm going to be like, even though I'm feeling depressed, I know I'm going to be okay. And now I've explored them so much, and I've done so much mushrooms that I'm like amped up for the next one. I'm like, the next one, I'm going to just start swinging. I'm just going to be haymakers all over the fucking doubt.
It's so funny that you're like, I don't think this about myself. I'm the exact opposite, where I'm like, oh, those people don't think it. That's me, how I think about myself, and that actually gives me comfort.
Yeah, no, I'm talking myself into thinking that. I'm like, none of this is. It's a shame, but it's, you know, it's fine. I guess it's, you know, I've gotten a lot of feedback from people who feel the same way. I was talking to a fucking dog today who was talking about having the same exact feelings. And it was like, bro, as long as you remember, like, number one, it's going to pass. And number two, like, fill your useful moments with things to stop this kind of backslide, and do mushrooms all the time.
Yeah, unless you're bipolar.
Mike, what's something that you're doing now with your son that is a primer for what you want to make his life easier in the long run?
I mean, he's 9 months old, so there's not many lessons I can give him that are like, tangible, but stuff where if he falls, I'm not grabbing him. I'm like, all right, come on, like let's get up. A lot of encouragement, a lot of positive reinforcement, because I know, like, I had coaches my entire life that I think just watched coaches on TV and they adopted their persona and were just like complete pieces of shit. They were not leaders of children. They were not motivators. They were not inspirers or anything like that. They were just adult pieces of shit that were pissed at their own lack of, success in any given sport. And so I was like, even though I was one of the best athletes in the entire county, I was negatively reinforced my entire life by shit coaches, and it never worked for me. So I've since coached and I've worked with other kids, and I've seen the payoff with that kind of thing where, building them up, but also being super direct when they're fucking up. And I'm trying even now with a 9-month-old to kind of like, get that a little bit started where it's not easy street. It's more like encouragement and like, come on, man, get up. Let's do it again. And I'm already having him shoot on a Lil Tykes hoop, which basically makes me the white Denzel and he got game.
When he fucks up, you have to slam a clipboard on the ground.
God damn it. Snap it over my knee.
Make him do crawling laps.
Dude, no one whips a folding chair across the room like an NBA coach. Just walking down the side, just whipping, like angry as fuck, whipping folding chairs.
My college coach is in basketball. He was from Westchester, Pennsylvania. He was also a Golden Gloves boxer. And he was like just a general psychopath. And he used to tear his hair out in games, screaming, tearing his hair, punching himself in the face. If one of our teammates didn't like dive for a ball, during games, it happened like 2 or 3 times where he's like, you gotta fucking dive like this. And he'd dive himself into the last 6 chairs in the bench and like, borderline knock himself unconscious. You're like, Jesus Christ, this is how this guy chose to motivate.
That's one thing that people don't talk about is that G.G. Allen was also an excellent basketball coach. In addition to being such a visionary musically. It's incredible, like how every basketball coach seems like they're hiding a cocaine problem.
Yeah. I mean, this guy he was hiding a severe mental illness problem that I think since he's made peace, I'm friends with his wife on Facebook. So we're like, I get a glimpse into how he's doing and all that stuff. And it seems like he's made peace, but like, yeah, all of my coaches growing up, like you talked about having an alcoholic coach. I was a college prospect for soccer in high school. I was a third leading scorer on my varsity team behind 2 seniors. So as a sophomore and my junior year, I was supposed to have this like, big year. It was going to be the year colleges came out, checked me out, all that shit. And my alcoholic math teacher of a coach who had no soccer background besides the fact that the school stuck him coaching there 20 years ago, just sat me. He just fucking sat me for a full year for no reason. And I got so pissed off that I played football the next year.
Damn, dude.
As a senior, I was like, all right, if you just fucked up my college chances, I'm now 100% focused on basketball and I'm going to play football with my friends because fuck you.
God damn, dude.
I think my parents trying to get me to play soccer in kindergarten was what put me off to mainstream sports for my entire life.
Really?
Yeah, I don't remember ever learning how to play soccer. Maybe a quick explanation. But I just remember, it's kindergarten, all the kids running in a pack chasing the ball. And I have a very clear memory of someone telling me when I wasn't allowed to use my hands. I was like, this is the dumbest fucking game ever made. Why would you? What kind of rule is that? I was too young. I was too young for the finesse of soccer. I started school early because my birthday was late. Mm-hmm. And I just was not ready to hear about a rule where I could not touch a ball.
But see, you say that you were too young, but that just sounds like you were advanced intellectually, where you're just like, listen, I have hands. I've learned how to use them. I'm not. You can't just give me hands and then tell me I'm no longer allowed to use them to my advantage.
I was the first of the next evolution of humans. Like, I'm never gonna not use these guys.
It's insane looking back how much of what forms you just comes from absolute fucking retards, man.
Yeah.
Like as you're talking about it, Mike, and as you're talking about it too, Tim, it's just like I'm thinking back at like all the coaches I had, and I had very few good people that I would consider good coaches. and it's just like, God damn it, he was just a pants pissing alcoholic retard.
Yeah.
Almost
so
through and
many of
through.
those growing up. One of my 8th grade baseball coach, he was a cop in New York City, right? And but he took baseball so fucking seriously. That was my best sport growing up, actually. And then I had a really great swing. And of course, in 5th grade, he decided to fix the mechanics of my swing. I was literally never able to touch a baseball again. Like, couldn't for the life of me make contact with a ball. It was so frustrating. So then I kind of turned into a pitcher. I was pretty good at as a pitcher. In 8th grade, I was on the modified middle school team, and we were there for our first game, and I was like kind of already half in, half out with interest in terms of baseball. And I had a spring league basketball game later that night in Spring Valley, which is like the hood. I was in 8th grade, and I was playing against all 17-year-old kids. So I was like more interested in like stepping up that way and like playing in really tough competitive leagues. Yeah. So we were up like 6-0 in the 5th inning, and I was like, out of 6, I think at the time, and I was like, I think I'm just gonna go. Like, I haven't played yet, so I'm gonna go and just not, because he's like, oh, I'll put you in at right field, and I'm like, I'm not a right fielder, no thanks. And he's like, whatever. And so I left and I played my game, and then my team ended up losing. Good. And so of course I got every bit of blame from from all my teammates, from all the other parents. That, and so I told the coach in 8th grade, I actually feel good about this, where I was like, I quit, fuck you. And I said, fuck you. And then he sent an anonymous letter home to my dad, and threatening both of us.
Did he make you turn in your gun and badge?
Yeah, dude. He was the only parent that worked in New York City, and it came from New York City. the envelope and the whole thing. It said, "You are such a pussy." It was to my dad.
Cut out of letters cut out of news magazines.
Yeah, magazine. It was like a ransom note. It was so stupid, and it's a, "You are such a pussy, you fat arrogant fool." It says something about your failed acting career to my dad, and then your son is like also a fag or something like that, and then It was like, signed a secret admirer or whatever, but we very quickly figured out who it was, and it was my coach.
Dude, that insult's so good. We had recently a kid was arguing with one of our kids, and the aggressor was probably 5 or 6 years old, and he said something yelling at our kids that was very clearly from his parents' troubled relationship. Oh, and it was like, my kids are fucking goofballs. They never
do the dishes, bitch.
Yeah, he said something 6. Like, "You're a disgrace and you have no dignity."
Sam, was this kid English?
If he was English, I would have been like, "Wow, that makes sense coming from this guy." But,
good day, sir.
No, man, this is just wealtty parents, man.
That is classic fun.
He probably, he was looking for a wine glass to throw at her.
Just little British kids are kind of creepy. I used to coach soccer, and 5 and 6 year olds, it's like they just found their penis. So they're like, they're humping couches, they're touching it, they're pulling on themselves, the whole thing. So this one British kid used to I'd be like on my knee, making eye contact with one of the kids giving a lesson, and this kid would just lean his dick against my elbow and would just press it, and you're not trying to fuck the kid up sexually, so I'm just kind of gingerly moving it away, and he kept kept trying to do it, and I was like, dude, you gotta get your dick off my arm. I think I said something the kid looked at me and he goes, "But I love you." I was like,
all right,
beat it. Yeah. All right, pump it in here like a crumpet, you little fuck.
Oh my god! All right, we're at an hour 12. We gotta flip over to the Patreon.
All right, but I gotta read the sponsors real quick, Tim.
Okay, yeah, I'm sorry, dude. I'm sorry.
Okay, buddy.
I'm sorry. We have time for a quick word from our fucking benevolent sponsors.
So this episode is sponsored by Blue Chew. Blue Chew brings you the first chewable with the same FDA-approved active ingredients as Viagra and Cialis. Blue Chew is prescribed online by licensed physicians, so you don't have to go to the doctor's office or wait in line at the pharmacy, and it ships right to your door in a discreet package. Mike, have you ever taken Blue Chew?
No, but I'm excited. They sponsored my pod too, and
yes,
dude, it's incredible. Dude, treat yourself.
Yeah.
Welcome to the Blue Chew family.
Yeah, dude, I'm starting to notice the inconsistencies in my erection, so I want to get back the power.
You're gonna love it. And for those of you listening, go to bluechew.com, type in promo code FATBIRD. You get free samples. All you got to do is pay the $5 shipping. It's incredible. It's like having fucking Wolverine bird. I promise you.
Adamantium dick.
I would say a realistic
feel
description is 105% boner.
Oh my God, that's awesome.
And just, I'm not saying 105% like that's an impressive number. Just be honest with yourself. Think back. When was the last time you were at 100%? When was the last time you hit 99? Come on.
Yeah.
Be honest.
Early 20s.
Now I'm talking about that, but 105%. That's what I'm saying.
Tim, I would even go so far as to encourage people to go to bluechew.com, type in promo code FATBIRD, and then when it comes, put a little outfit on there consisting of a flannel shirt and denim jeans, and watch yourself werewolf through that fucking thing. your dick is going to be fighting cops by the end of that night. Look,
put a yellow tank top. It's like Hulk Hogan.
Your dick's just shaking. His Hulkamania's running wild.
Its arm is just like, ah!
If you don't hit 105%, you fucking hit me up. You DM me, let me know, and I'll come show you what you're doing wrong.
Yeah, it's a suck off guarantee.
Hell yeah. I'll double down on that. I'll suck you off after.
Oh, come on. What are you going? What? Come on. No. See? What did I say? 105.
And I also want to mention that our second sponsor is Audible. And if you go to audibletrial.com/fatbird, you get a free 30-day trial of Audible, which fucking rules. You can cancel at any time. I use Audible for the last few years. I love it. I fall asleep to it every night. I'm listening to something right now that's about behind-the-scenes stories of The Office, which is probably my second favorite show behind Deadwood.
Nice.
Yeah, there's just tons of cool shit you can listen to. If you go to audibletrial.com/fatbird, you get a 30-day free trial. It fucking rules. I think you'll love it.
And it all supports the show. No cost to you. Wow.
Yes.
Hell yeah.
Wow. That's our dude. That's the third sponsor. The fucking listeners like you.
Benevolence?
Oh. All right, Mike, thanks for being on the show. Do you have, I don't know, are you busy? Do you want to keep going with us on the Patreon?
No, I'm with you. Yeah.
Fuck yes. Oh
Yes.
my God, Mike Hanna is going to be on the Patreon.
Hell
We'll put
yeah.
that on YouTube
Let's
as
do
well
it.
to stream along. Give us like 2 minutes and we're all going to piss our pants and show each other on our Zoom.
Sweet.
And then we'll start the Patreon. All right.
Yeah.
Thanks,
Go
Mike.
to Patreon. Patreon.com/dadmeatpodcast.
Yeah, that's
leads
where
right
it
to it if you're not a patron
It's
already.
only $1. It rules. All right. I'll see you guys over there.